Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens as we wrap up the relegation battle and what are the implications for Leeds United. We said this weekend going into it would be a massive game for Leeds United, for Forest last night. As we know, Leeds United came on top in that game, but it was also equally a big game for Leeds United today in the West Ham versus Burnley game, or the Burnley versus West Ham game. And unfortunately, it isn't going to be the perfect weekend for Leeds United. But at the end of the day, I think with this, we've got to focus on what we need to do. And we've got to do our job on the pitch. And then we've got to hope at points. Well, West Ham will slip up. They haven't turned into this unbelievable team over tonight. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are the implications of that? We're also going to be talking about Tottenham Hotspur as well. Are they now in the relegation battle? And finally, I think we can put a stop to this idea that Burnley might stay in the Premier League. I think that result for West Ham today kills any chance that Burnley will stay in the Premier League. So I'm looking at it now going, I do think it's probably about 3 or 4 teams all going for one spot now. You could maybe throw Spurs in there. You could definitely throw Crystal Palace in there. Leeds are obviously in there, Forest in there, and West Ham. So that's 5 teams now all trying to avoid finishing in the 18th position. But I do think, obviously, Wolves, we knew a few weeks ago, relegated. They lost again today. And, of course, Burnley now is completely over. But as I said, get your comments in today. I'm interested to know what you guys think on this, because I know obviously we were buzzing last night, and I still maintain this has been a really, really good weekend for Leeds United, because truthfully, we can only do what we want to do on the pitch. We can't control what's going on elsewhere. We cannot do that. And if we're doing our job, we'll stay in the Premier League, and it's that simple. And I think it was important yesterday, obviously, we got the result we did, because of course we knew that this could happen today. And I felt today that Burnley would win the game. I also felt that Leeds United would win yesterday. So I mean, I guess I got them both right, but what I mean is that I think you could see the momentum of how these games are going to go, and I think that's obviously the way it's ended up. But I want to start, actually, before we get into all this, obviously, if you could help my channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massively the channel. But also, I do want to sort of start by talking a bit about Spurs as well, because I think when we've looked at this, we've constantly sort of nullified the idea that Spurs are out this relegation battle. And we've just said it's sort of Leeds, Forest and West Ham. That's always been the rhetoric. And I think in recent weeks we've come around to the idea that Crystal Palace are in the relegation battle. But I think it's so important now that we do look at Tottenham Hotspur as in the relegation battle. They've just lost the captain today. He's going to be out for 4 games. They have got tricky games coming up. They've got Arsenal coming up. They've got Newcastle next. I think they've got Fulham away, I think, as well. They're in the next 3 games to them. So they have got tricky games coming up. And I think the fact is we're on the same amount of points as them now. And I think when you look at it, you've got to go, you're in it till you're not. This is something that I've constantly said on this channel, that you're in it, the relegation sort of fight till you're not. And as I said, if Leeds United are in it, and I think we definitely are, then Spurs have to be in it as well. And that's kind of my feeling on it. Obviously, I think we're going to have to see with them long term, because they have got a lot of injuries. When a few of them players come back, you'd expect Spurs to pull away. And even now, if you still look at the sort of relegation odds, Spurs are quite clearly the least favourites of everyone for going down. But as Ian's correctly said, Spurs have only taken 3 points from the last 6 games, which is, as you rightly said, it is relegation form. I thought they showed a bit of fight back, obviously, in that game against Man City, of course, but as I said, they must be in the relegation battle, shouldn't they? Fundamentally, Rich says Burnley are so bad. I'm gonna be furious if they turn up at Ellen Road and take it off us. I think that's a positive we've got to take from staying it. Like, Burnley now will be basically relegated by the time they play us. They're relegated now, in truth, and I think obviously Wolves are also relegated. Leeds United have to win them 2 games. They absolutely have to. There's no excuse for not winning them games. Obviously, things can happen, and we can't just rely on them games to definitely be 6 points. You could have a man sent off within the first 10 minutes, and it could change the complexion. But going into it, they're 2 games that Leeds United realistically have to get maximum points in, and we know full well if Leeds United do get maximum points in them games, do get ourselves now to 35 points, we'll then have 11 games the rest of the season to make up that other maybe 5 or 6 points that are going to be needed to take us to sort of 41 points. But I'm interested to know with you guys, where are you at now with this relegation battle? Where do you think that sort of team it's going to take now for Leeds United, for clubs to stay in the Premier League? What is the number going to be that sort of you need to finish 1 point ahead of 18th place? What's that going to be? Because I do think for the first time in a while it could be quite high this year. Like, I'm looking at it and going, okay, West Ham have got 13 games left. They need 17 points to get to 40 points. I could see them doing that with the form they're on. They've obviously won in 3 of the last 4, but they're actually playing really well at this moment. They kept a clean sheet today, which I think was a really bad situation for Leeds. It's the only clean sheet, second clean sheet they've kept this season, and it was always good that in the back of their head they always think they're going to concede. But where do you guys think it's going to end up? I am interested to know that. 45 says noob of approval. Do we think it's going to be that high? I mean, that would be if it would be very Leeds United, wouldn't it, to sort of get a ridiculous points total and still find themselves in the Championship next season? That would be ridiculous. But that is really, really high. Spurs have a lot of injuries, so we'll probably be fine once their players return. Palace more likely to be in trouble. Yeah, look, Palace obviously play tomorrow, don't they, against Brighton, and that will be a massive game, obviously. If Brighton could do us a favour tomorrow, that would be a massively important favour for us, because then that really drags Palace into it. We know Palace are on a bad run of form at this moment. They've not been playing well. I don't think they've won in how long is it since they've won? Is it something like 10 games or something since they last actually picked up a victory? And obviously they couldn't even beat 10-man Forest, which we disposed of Forest pretty easily last night from all respects. I know Forest were at home in that game, and we were obviously playing at home in this game, so it's slightly different complexion. But I thought when we watched Forest yesterday, they looked appalling. Obviously Mari Hutchinson came on and he looked a bit better, and obviously the new lad Luca looked a bit better. But truthfully, yeah, I'm not so sure. Rich says record was West Ham on 42 points. I think it could be something similar. Yeah, I'm thinking it could be that high. I really could. I'm thinking it's looking at the idea of it potentially being 40 pluses, which I think at the start of the season you're annoyed with, because we thought probably if you got 38 that'd probably be enough. Whereas now it's looking like 38 definitely ain't going to be enough, is it, in truth? Forest look dire, they do. If we're worrying about Burnley at this stage, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're not worrying about Burnley, Clive. I think that's what we're saying in this. I think today was the annual relegation of Burnley. I think that's the situation. I think Burnley are now completely done, and I think we know that we know where we're sort of at now at this moment. Our aim should be top 10 anyway. No, our aim should be 7 to stay in this division. That is all we need to do. Fark never beat this Parker. That's why I'm worried. Are we still going about? We can't still be going about this Daniel Farke thing. I think you're tongue-in-cheek there a bit, Richard. I actually want to talk about Daniel Farke. I was going to mention it in tomorrow's show. In fact, we'll save that for tomorrow's show. Anyway, but yeah, I think, yeah, truthfully, to sort of wrap up the video, because I won't talk too long about it. I don't think we need to be losing our cool today. I don't think a lot of Leeds United fans are. Yes, we knew that obviously there was a very good chance that West Ham would win today. I think we've just got to keep our foot on the ground, accept where we are, accept we're doing really well at this moment, because we are flying. We've picked up, 7 points in our last 4 games. That's a really good return, especially when you've got sort of Arsenal in there, and you've obviously, we obviously had Everton away, 2 very tricky games in my opinion. And I think we've just got to sort of, we've just got to sort of keep doing our thing on the pitch. And I do think if we get to 40 points, that will still probably be enough. Because I'm actually wondering about Forest at this moment. I'm wondering if they're going to be in trouble. But again, they have Wolves next week, so you think they'll beat Wolves at home? Then they'll be on 29 points and need 12 to get 11 points in the last 12 to do it. Michael said it's still in our hands. It is. This is not a show of constant negativity at all. This is a show of like, this happened today. We knew this was going to happen. We can move on. It's not a problem. Who would you like to bring in the summer? God, we're not seriously talking about getting rid of Daniel Farke, are we? It's all in our hands. Yeah, it is. And I think that's a very important sort of situation to be in. The result is not what we wanted. No, it's not, Michael. And that's sort of the situation. As I said, we thought this was going to happen yesterday, which is obviously why it was so important. Yes, for us. I think the benefit of obviously yesterday, though, we talked about it, is if this result happened like it did today, it's now just brought Forest into this conversation even more. And I think now if you're West Ham, you're naturally, because Forest are the 3 points ahead, you're looking at Forest. They're the club you're looking at, and that's what we've always tried to make sure with this. We never wanted just to be Leeds United versus West Ham in a relegation battle. I feel like it's constantly in my head being that somehow, but I think we need to get away from that. And I think naturally, we've because of what we've been thinking, that's been the case. But I do now think we're in a much better season, a much better place, I say. Players wise, I'm Farking. Every team involved in relegation is there for a reason. The reason Leeds are involved in, I'm not, and this fart crap, I'm not entertaining it, people. Seriously, seriously, not today. We've just come off a fantastic day. I want to go all out for Emery. I mean, come on, what are we talking about? I think this is the time to wrap up the show. It's Saturday evening. I don't want to talk about if Fart should be removed in the summer after we're on a really good run. I'm just not discussing it, people. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. Forest versus Wolves Tuesday. Yeah, it is, and I expect that. Yeah, exactly, Rich, exactly. Anyway, thanks all for watching. As always, we will be back tomorrow with a more longer show, Nat show. We'll cover all the weekend's results, talk about some other news that's naturally in it. We'll talk about everything that's going on with Leeds United. But I did just wanted to do a quick live after, obviously, the game today, and sort of just discuss where we're at and accept the sort of position we're in. Anyway, as I said, thanks for watching. If you drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massively help the channel. Anyway, I will see you all later, everybody. Bye for now.